All right, in just a few hours, the Theodore Roosevelt Presidential Library is going to open to the public. A long time coming. It's in remote Medora, North Dakota.
That's right, and it doesn't look like a traditional museum. It blends almost seamlessly into the Badlands, and the structure itself is actually made of rammed earth, and that's in tribute to the 26th president's passion for nature and conservation. There's a walking path on top of the structure, and, because you can't get enough AI, an AI Teddy Roosevelt visitors can interact with. Joining us now is Robbie Lauf. He's director of the museum. Thank you so much for having us. It's been a big week for you guys. What is your favorite part of the place you now work?
Well, good morning and happy 250th birthday to the greatest country in the history of the world. It is an honor to be with you today to celebrate our grand opening, which has been many years in the wake, coming, as you just mentioned. My favorite thing is introducing hundreds of thousands of people every day to the Badlands that created TR and getting them outside because they came to one of the world's most beautiful buildings telling the life and legacy of perhaps our greatest president. So connecting people to the outdoors is what TR would want us to do, and it's what we do right here in Medora.
Robbie, let me ask you the basic question here I think a lot of people will have, which is why North Dakota? Why is this a place that you associate with Teddy Roosevelt? I think a lot of folks right now probably don't.
Well, the reason is not perhaps best for me, it's best from TR. He said he would never have been president if it wasn't for his time in North Dakota. So we decided to build a presidential library to the place that created the man who saved the conservation movement and created one of the greatest treasures in American history, which is our beautiful national park system. So he spent a little over 2 years of his life here, which perhaps is less than New York, but he said it was where the romance of his life began. And when he was asked at the end of his life, is there only one place or one time he could relive? He would relive his time as a rancher in Dakota Territory. So perhaps the library could have been built in great American cities like New York or Washington, D.C., but we think TR would want it to be at the entrance of the only national park named after a person in the entire system, which is TR National Park right here in Medora, North Dakota.
It also seems to go to just the vibes of the man. I mean, he is associated with wilderness, with conservation.
Rugged individualism.
A rugged guy. You know, he had asthma as he was a kid, and he did all these sports and things to try to toughen up, and that was such a big part of his legacy. But when you look at this museum, your CEO has called it a digital library for an analog president. What did he mean by that?
Yes. Well, we think that we want to build a 21st century institution that utilize things like AI so you can actually have a conversation with TR. You can go through photo stations that put you in different places across the life and legacy of this incredible man. We want to make sure that anybody, if you're in Medora or if you're in Russia or Japan or any place in the country of the United States, you can connect online to the entire digital history of perhaps our most writingest president, the person who used media differently than anyone before, was the first technologically innovative president, was the first one to ride a submarine, to hop in an airplane, to travel overseas. This guy looked 150 years into the future. So does this institution. So we are trying to not only look back at history, but be a 21st century cultural institution that connects you to a whole new wave of technology. So we want this to be a museum that kids drag their parents to, not parents drag their kids to. So TR was a kid himself. I mean, he was as active as anybody. He was the youngest president in American history. So we're using forward-thinking technology to tell that story, to reconnect a new generation of people to American history, and perhaps to innovate an entire industry.
Robbie, I can't help but bookend this with the opening of President Obama's museum and library just a few weeks back. And you know, throughout that whole process of its design and construction, the former president integrally involved. He was there for the opening. There were all kinds of events. He met with school children. He was there. And, of course, that can't happen with your museum and library. Teddy Roosevelt, long dead. And I'm curious sort of how that complicated the process, if it did, how it changed the process at the very least, not having to kind of reckon with the man being alive at this moment. How did that change the process for you?
Well, we're talking about a president who's long been judged by history as one of the greatest Americans in history. So while we didn't have TR himself, who perhaps it might be very helpful to have him in this modern world today, we had his great-great-grandson. We had his great-grandson involved in the project. We have the entire Roosevelt family, generations of institutions and people who care about this person, from the Theodore Roosevelt Association to the American Museum of Natural History. So it was a unique challenge, of course, to build a presidential library to somebody who's been gone since 1919. But frankly, what a gift for us to be able to reinvigorate his story into the American story around the 250th birthday of America. You may not know this, but TR was president during America's 125th birthday. So bookending that conversation with 125 years later, having TR have an institution celebrating his life on America's 250th is perhaps a bit of kismet. But we're also doing an institution that is looking 250 years into the future because, like we said, TR's story is a little bit baked in at this point, but it has never been more relevant than it is today, and perhaps more needed. He's the favorite president of Josh Hawley on the right and Elizabeth Warren on the left. 95% of Americans have a positive view of TR, and I haven't really met anybody in the other 5%. So we think it's a unique opportunity to connect people to somebody who is just transformational in his impact and legacy. And we wish he was here still today, but if not, his great-grandson will work just fine.
I mean, they might be out there, but when they hear what your job is, I doubt they're going to tell you to your face. You have a lot of enthusiasm for this guy. Yeah. I wouldn't want to go. I wouldn't want to cross you on this topic. Of course, the president was there earlier this week, and he spoke about TR, as you call him, with a lot of admiration. Take a listen.
He had great passion. The colonel, they called him, was an American man. He was really a great he-man. He was an American man through and through. His chest swelled with American optimism, confidence, enthusiasm, pride. His heart beat with an unyielding sense of America's destiny and pride in that.
President Trump sees a lot of similarities between himself and Teddy Roosevelt, and there are some, I think about big stick diplomacy, similar stance on the Panama Canal. But when it comes to nature and conservation, these two men have very different perspectives. How do you kind of reconcile that?
Well, TR is kind of a Rorschach test, if you think about him. What you see in him almost says about you, more about you than it says about him. There's been many different efforts to connect people and American figures to TR's life and legacy. But President Trump's visit here is the highest public-ranking official to visit Medora since TR himself. This special place is all about the outdoors. It's about conservation, and conservation wasn't much of a movement until TR put it to the forefront. So this institution, this president, President Donald J. Trump, and TR himself are all utilizing this place to connect to the outdoors, a new generation of people. So it's your job, of course, to compare that president and our modern day president to each other. But what we're trying to do is tell people to connect themselves and compare themselves to TR, to a man who was deeply sad when he lost his wife and his mother on the exact same day, February 14th, 1884. He took his diary out and said, the light has gone out of my life. And what did he do? He went to Medora to heal. He used nature to reconnect with his potential. We think President Trump is inspiring a new generation of Americans to go to nature by coming to Medora, by showing this place. There are thousands of places on Earth that have mountains, thousands that have beaches. There's only one place with the Badlands.
Okay.
So there's an incredible legacy that he has and TR can have.